Hey, 42 here. On the 26th of September 1983, in the midst of the Cold War, a Russian colonel named Stanislav Petrov was sat in the Soviet Missile Control Center monitoring incoming satellite data, as he did every day. His job was to monitor the nuclear missile early warning system and to report a suspected launch higher up the command so they could retaliate. But on this day, something happened for the very first time. Something he had been waiting for, yet dreading his entire career. The alarm sounded. The early warning system had detected that a nuclear missile had been launched from the United States, heading towards the USSR. Then, moments later, more warnings appeared. 5 more missiles had been launched by the US. But Petrov sat there and did nothing. He didn't report it higher up the command like he should have, because he knew that would mean a full-scale nuclear retaliation from Russia and the end of the world as we know it. For he had a gut instinct. He felt that the computers were malfunctioning and the warnings were no more than false alarms. He was right. He went on to help fix the bugs in the system that caused the false alarm. His gut instinct saved the world, and he has thus come to be known as the man who saved the world. He received no reward from the Soviets for his actions. He was in fact fired from his position and reassigned to a less sensitive post. Petrov believes his superiors were embarrassed about their failings within the early warning system. People often tell you to trust your gut instinct, but what exactly does that mean? Do you ever see someone and instantly get an uneasy feeling in your stomach? A little voice inside you that says, that person is up to no good. When you're driving, you just know the person to the side of you is going to suddenly change lanes before they have even begun to move. The moment right before something bad happens or you receive bad news, you get a sinking feeling in your stomach, a distressing anxiety and tenseness. Well, what if I said that this feeling is caused by your second brain? That's right, some experts believe that we have 2 brains, and one of them is in our stomach. Now, we're not talking about a traditional brain here, it certainly doesn't look like one. The brain and the gut are intricately connected by a network of neurons and nerves. These information superhighways transport chemicals and hormones between our brain and our stomach. It's how you know when you're hungry, your stomach simply tells your brain. This connection is called the brain-gut axis. But it's much more than a connection between your brain and gut. This chemical highway is part of a larger network of hundreds of millions of nerves and neurons called the enteric nervous system. It monitors your entire gastrointestinal system from the esophagus all the way down to your anus. It reports back to the brain when we should feel hungry, full, when we're ill, nauseous, and more. But this is more than just a fancy monitoring system. Research has proven that the entire enteric nervous system really can act as a second brain. So, if you have 2 brains, you're going to need to feed them. And the best way to do that is by learning incredible new skills from some of the world's leading experts in their fields. Skillshare have helped out the channel by supporting this video. Skillshare is an online learning community for creators with more than 16,000 classes in design, photography, film, writing, and so much more. Anyone can take a class or learn how to start their next big project. You can take a class entirely at your own pace, and you can even teach a class yourself if you like. Premium membership starts at only $10 a month for unlimited access to every class. That's 16,000 opportunities to learn incredible skills from industry experts for the price of a couple of coffees. Right now, the first 500 people to click the link in the description will get a 2-month free trial of Skillshare. I have been completely immersing myself in the incredible classes on Skillshare over the past few weeks, and I've learnt so much. I've even picked up a couple of new techniques and skills that should improve my videos. So I highly recommend it. There really is something on there for everyone. So click the link in the description. The first 500 people will get a 2-month free trial. So, how is it we have a second brain? Well, the enteric nervous system is so complex and contains so many nodes that it can act as a neural network and process information exactly like our brain does. So, your gut isn't just reporting facts, it's thinking them up too. Now, our second brain can't compose music or help us out with our maths homework, but it can certainly think for itself. One area it excels in is hormones and emotions. The gut contains 95% of the body's supply of serotonin, a neurotransmitter that affects our mood. It can make us happy, sad, anxious, and an array of other emotions. The gut is therefore hugely responsible for controlling your mood. Happy gut, happy mind. So much so that there is even talk of a medication that directly targets your gut as a potential cure for depression. But the key emotion here is anxiety, and it's how your gut can predict the future and often make better decisions about a situation than your actual brain can. The enteric nervous system can make your brain feel anxiety at the drop of a hat, but it doesn't just do it for fun. Our brain is constantly taking in massive amounts of data, and I mean massive. The brain processes 400 billion bits of information per second. The colours and shapes of every single object in our surroundings, every sound we can hear, the temperature, what we're going to say next. 400 billion bits of information at a time sounds like superhuman levels of cognition, and it is. Because, unfortunately, our conscious mind is only aware of a measly 2,000 of these 400 billion bits of information. That means out of every 200 million bits of information our brain takes in and processes, we only pay attention to one of them. It's why we experience tunnel vision or single-mindedness. Although our conscious mind doesn't make use of those 400 billion bits of information, our gut does. The enteric nervous system and the brain can work together to deduce things from the constant tidal wave of ignored information, and using this collective information, the brain and the gut together can actually predict the immediate future. And if the future looks somewhat uneasy, our gut immediately responds by making us feel anxious. Researchers in Colombia carried out experiments and stumbled upon something they called the emotional oracle effect. Over 8 separate studies, test participants were asked to make predictions on various topics, such as who will be the next US president, which movies will win awards, will the Dow Jones Index go up or down, and even the weather. Some of the participants trusted their initial gut feeling, whilst others made an educated and calculated guess based on their knowledge. 72% of people who trusted their gut instinct predicted that Barack Obama would beat Hillary Clinton for the 2008 Democratic nomination, whilst only 64% of people who actually put thought into it made the same correct prediction. At the time, the two candidates were neck and neck in the polls. In fact, the gut instinct trusters were significantly better at all the predictions than those who thought about it logically. They were 25% better at predicting the Dow Jones Index, and they could even predict the weather with some degree of accuracy, using nothing more than what their enteric nervous system was telling them. But the researchers found that this amazing stomach-powered predictive talent only works if the individual has at least some knowledge of the situation. Our gut feeling doesn't work for things we know absolutely nothing about, suggesting that the test participants weren't actually predicting the future in a supernatural sense. but their enteric nervous system and brain were collectively using their aggregated knowledge to quickly form the most accurate prediction possible based on the information at hand. All those billions of bits of information we take in each second are collectively summarised, and these summaries are sent to our enteric nervous system, which uses it to determine which emotion we should feel in our gut. Anxiety, fear, happiness. Remember in school when the teacher left the classroom for a few minutes and all hell broke loose? You could guarantee that within 5 seconds someone would be stood on top of a desk or drawing phallic images on the chalkboard. But then suddenly you got a gut feeling that the teacher was returning. You couldn't hear them, but nevertheless, out of nowhere, a wave of silence and obedience would wash over the classroom in an instant. Then, sure enough, the teacher would walk in, none the wiser. It's almost as if we predicted the future. Or our gut did at least. We may have had the exact same experience at work too, when you're watching 42 on YouTube, and suddenly you sense that your boss is walking down the hallway, about to enter the room and rumble you. So you quickly hit the like button and close your browser. Whilst this seems very mystical, it's not. Your brain and enteric nervous system are actually using billions of bits of data and past knowledge to make an educated guess at the typical behavioural patterns of your teacher or boss. Whilst your conscious mind is too distracted with whatever is presently happening in front of you, perhaps your boss always comes and checks on you around the same time each day, but you've never realised you don't look at the clock. But your unconscious mind does. And it has created a schedule of your boss's daily actions and stored it at the back of your brain without you ever realising it. So, it seems Petrov's lack of action on that day he saved the world wasn't random. He may not have known why at the time, but there will have been good reasons that his gut decided to signal to him that something was amiss with the alarm system. Perhaps his unconscious brain had picked up a few subtle signs from his environment and past knowledge that the computers were malfunctioning. Petrov has later reflected back on the events of that monumental day, and he himself said that at the time he had no idea why he didn't report it to the superiors. He just felt it was wrong. He couldn't explain why. Looking back now, he says there were definite reasons why he should have suspected a false alarm, such as 5 or 6 missiles seemed like an illogical first strike by the US. Compared to America's total arsenal, that is a tiny number of missiles, and if you want to suppress your opponent's chances of retaliation, surely you would use your full nuclear force against them up front. It's little things like this that Petrov's gut will have picked up on that day, but his conscious mind wouldn't have. So, yes, a man's stomach really did save the world. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then please click here to support me on Patreon, which really helps to support the channel, and you can get some cool rewards like early access to all my videos. Click here to watch another video, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. Also, don't forget to check out Skillshare by clicking the link in the description.